NFC South, I believe in Michael Penix. I don't like him not having Grady Jarrett, but I don't like him losing Drew Dalman in the center. The Bucs are getting old. They're bringing back the entire offense. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's not. I like the trajectory of Atlanta, and I'm a big Michael Penix fan. Carolina will be better, but an average roster. Saints up against the cap. Kind of rigid there. I just don't like their direction. NFC West. So I have the...
Okay. Well, I want to talk about the Falcons because I totally agree with Colin. I'm super high on the Falcons. You know, after the season ended, I kind of made a few videos really highlighting just how good Penix was. And when you look at his first few games and compare it to Bo Nix's first few games and Jaden Daniels' first few games, like, he was actually better by a margin. And I know he played later in the season, so you could say, well, yeah, well, he kind of got to sit a little bit technically, and it's true. But those other quarterbacks got to play in the beginning when there was zero expectations, zero pressure. It was the beginning of the season. Whereas the Falcons threw in Penix and were like, bro, you got to win some games. If you win some games, like, we can get it to the playoffs, right? And so that, I mean, like, I can't tell you how much pressure that is on a guy. And it's real because it's not like external pressure necessarily, like from the fans. You obviously are going to experience that too, and you're going to experience it especially in the NFL, like from management and ownership and all of that type of stuff. But it's also the guys in the locker room. Like, you're literally having the entire locker room. It's like right out of a movie. Like, you walk into a room and the entire locker room is going to simultaneously just like all slowly look at you, and Penix is like, huh, like me? And it just like and it happened like that, like in a snap of the fingers. Like that's the real deal. And to see him play the way he played and step up the throws that he was making, I mean, I was wildly impressed. I do think they have to protect him because his lack of mobility was the one thing that stood out to me more than anything. And so I do think like he will definitely be a quarterback that you need to protect for sure. But again, just some of the levels of some of the types of throws that he was making, especially in the moments that he was being asked to make them, I just think was so impressive. Even if you just look at the Falcons versus the Commanders, you know, that game alone, when you really think about it, was wildly impressive. When you look at Penix in his final, you know, when he started playing, again, it obviously wasn't perfect. You know, again, it was his first, you know, few starts, but he was still technically ranked top 8. I mean, the only quarterbacks above him in during those last few weeks were Jared Goff, Mahomes, you know, Herbert, Burrow, Lamar, etc., etc. So, I mean, you know, it was just very impressive from my viewpoint, the way how he was able to run that offense, especially what was even asked of him. When you just look at the sheer volume, like how I talked about that Commanders game, he had to throw the ball like 36 times. I mean, like, again, they were immediately asking a ton from him. And the truth is, the Falcons actually did a poor job of stepping up for him, because in that week period, in that 3-game period, he was also number 1 in drops in terms of, you know, drop passes from his receivers. 8. I mean, that's you have your rookie quarterback enter the NFL, because I remember, right, I think it was that one fumble, or it was considered an interception where he caught it. I forget who it was who caught it. And he like shot it up. I still don't. I forget exactly what it was, but it like ricocheted off him and it went right into the hands of a defensive player. But it was like, yeah, you had wonky stuff like that. But I mean, he was top in the league. He had the second most big time throws, which sometimes can be misleading. But then, you know, drops 8, lead the league. So it's like, I don't even think that the Falcons even necessarily did a good job of even, you know, supporting him in that regard. But I just think that when you kind of put it all together, what he dealt with, what he was asked to do, I just think it was just, I have to imagine he's going to be able to hit the ground running. this this coming season. So I do think that it's a very fair bet to believe it'll come down between the Falcons and the Bucks. And I think the Bucks will be a feisty team, but I think there is a question mark. You lose your coordinator, you lose your OC. I think there's a real chance to take a step back, and you are getting older. You are relying on these older guys right now. When will they start to really show their age? I think Baker has done a great job keeping that team together, giving that team some fight, some energy, the belief that you're going to win. And I do think that there's still some question marks around coaching and just management in general with the Atlanta Falcons. But I just think that there's, a real chance based on how we saw Penix play in those final few games of the season. I think it would have been a fair bet that if he played the whole season, that there's a great chance that he would have made the playoffs. Now, to be fair, you did have Kirk Cousins' crazy game against the Bucks that you don't know if you're going to get a game like that or if you needed a game like that. So it's you can't, obviously we know Kirk Cousins definitely cost some games, but he still won some games. So it's not the easiest plus and minus there. But I just have to imagine going into this season that the Falcons are going to really believe in what they're putting out there. And I just think that Penix is set up to play some high level football. To me, the rest is, how does the rest of that roster actually round out and support? Because again, when you have a rookie quarterback and you gotta win games to be able to get into the playoffs and lock it up, and for a moment, for 1 week or so, I think that they were in the driver's seat of, of making the playoffs. And again, you have 8 drop passes, that is largely indefensible to me, because it's just you're collectively letting it down, letting your team down, yourself down. And again, you have this young, brand new quarterback playing his first couple games in the NFL. You got to catch the ball. I mean, you got to elevate, you got to step up, you got to have your quarterback's back. You can't make it harder for him. And so that aspect is definitely a little disappointing, because that was one of the big things that I remember earlier in the season when the Packers, when Jordan Love went down and they had their backup quarterback go in, and they all stepped up. They made great catches. They rose to the occasion to say, okay, we got this backup quarterback in. We got to start winning games. Jordan Love is down. We got to step up. And you didn't see the Falcons do that. And a lot of times it could be personnel, but more often than not, it's coaching, not getting them prepared, ready for the moment, not having everyone understand this is the situation. Let's be very clear about the situation. We have a new quarterback in there. Things can get a little weird at times. We gotta help him out in any given moment. He has to be given room to fail, to make mistakes. It's up to us to support him. It's not up to him to support us, even though we're asking him, please, can you just be a competent quarterback? I know we're asking a lot, and you are. You're asking a ton from someone in that situation, and he did his job. The people around him did not, which is kind of fascinating when you really think about it. So if they can just do a better job of supporting him, then I just think that they could have a ton of success. But I'm definitely looking forward to those Falcon Bucks games. I think the Kellen Moore and the Saints can be a little bit of a dark horse. I think that'll be interesting. For a minute, that offense looked like it was ready to take over the NFL. Then they had injuries, and I think they would have probably still come back down to earth, because I think they rolled the Panthers and rolled the Cowboys. Hardly world beaters, but I don't know. I don't know if Kellen Moore is the type of OC who can just step in there in from day one and just have that offense just ripping and rolling. So I do think it's a safer bet that it'll come down to the Falcons and the Bucks. And I was about to say, at the end of the day, it will come down to Penix, but I actually feel pretty confident that Penix is not going to be a limitation of this team. So, it's actually going to be on the coaching staff and the rest of the players. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Atlanta Falcons winning the division, making the playoffs, and finally potentially taking a legitimate step forward? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here. Absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.